The United Kingdom formally recognizes the State of Palestine.
They want Israel to stand down and accept that Hamas's army of mass murderers will survive, rebuild, and repeat the October 7th massacre again and again and again.
The UK government has formally recognised the State of Palestine, alongside Canada, Australia and a few others. The decision is framed as protecting the viability of a two-state solution with conditions that Hamas must have no role in governance, hostages must be released, violence must end, and reforms are required in the Palestinian Authority. For Israel, this was condemned as rewarding terrorism. For Palestinians, it was welcomed as an overdue recognition. Now let's take a look at what is being said by the mainstream media, shall we?
We are acting to keep alive the possibility of peace and a two-state solution. That means a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable Palestinian state.
Right, I've been to Palestine, all right, as it is now, all right? I've been to Gaza, I've been to the West Bank. It is an absolute muddle over there, do you know what I mean? And to be honest, to understand it properly, you need the brain of a small planet. But we'll try and get our head around it as far as what's going on with the press, and then I'll try and summarise it to give you a little bit more of an understanding. But I've just about got a foothold myself on this, do you know what I mean?
Let's be frank. Hamas is a brutal terror organisation.
Well, he got that right. Hamas is an absolute honking organisation, and I've seen them firsthand. In fact, I've met them hand to hand in the same room and had negotiations, talks, and had to work alongside Hamas. And he's not wrong there. They are honking.
Our call for a genuine two-state solution is the exact opposite of their hateful vision. Meanwhile, the man-made humanitarian crisis in Gaza reaches new depths. The Israeli government's relentless and increasing bombardment of Gaza, the offensive of recent weeks, the starvation and devastation are utterly intolerable. Tens of thousands have been killed, including thousands as they tried to collect.
I think we can all be pretty much in agreement that, you know, we don't want to see what's happening over there happening to innocent people. But Hamas are another story. And how do you stop them? Is this going to stop them? That's a question that's got to be asked, isn't it? Because they've been told, you know, you're going to have no interference with this whatsoever. You're not going to be taken seriously, blah, blah, blah. But they'll still be there. They will still be there. So who will be the new drivers behind all this? And what will Hamas do? Do you think they'll just step to one side and sit down and shut up? That's what you've got to work out with all this. Do you know what I mean?
Food and water. This death and destruction horrifies all of us. The hope of a two-state solution is fading. But we cannot let that light go out. So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the State of Palestine.
I mean, some people will be arguing he's only doing this to try and get a few votes through the door. I'm just throwing it out there. Do you know what I mean? But let me know what you think, please.
We recognised the State of Israel more than 75 years ago as a homeland for the Jewish people. Today, we join over 150 countries who recognise a Palestinian state also. A pledge to the Palestinian and Israeli people that there can be a better future.
Well, I think that's the bit that I do agree on. I really genuinely hope there's a better future over there for people.
אנחנו נצטרך להיאבק גם באו"ם וגם בכל הזירות האחרות מול התעמולה השקרית נגדנו והקריאות להקמת מדינה פלסטינית שתסכן את קיומנו ותהווה פרס אבסורדי לטרור. הקהילה הבינלאומית תשמע מאיתנו בעניין הזה בימים הקרובים.
See, what you got to understand here is, from his point of view, his people were savagely attacked. They flew those things in, they raped, they pillaged, they murdered, they absolutely, and every time they've taken their foot off the gas, they get walloped by Hamas. Do you know what I mean? And that's a fact. He'd be looking at this going, right, okay, that's fine, but how do you guarantee that Hamas are not all behind this again? So he has to treat it with caution because his country have been so badly slapped before. All right. You're going to argue with me now, aren't you? Some of you are going to go, well, two rights don't make a wrong. Do you know what I mean? How do you contain this sort of thing? And where do you actually draw a line in the sand and say it stops? Do you see where I'm coming from with the politics side of things now? It's extremely difficult to weigh one or the other.
הקהילה הבינלאומית תשמע מאיתנו בעניין הזה, בימים הקרובים.
Tomorrow, President Abbas will be addressing the New York mini.
See, President Abbas was in power when I was there years ago, and he was the one who was overthrown by Hamas when Hamas took control of the Strip way back when, okay? Very violently took over the Strip as well, massacring, murdering and all that sort of stuff, and ruling with a rod of fear, to which they still do this day.
Summit on the implementation of the two states. We expect, hopefully, some 10 countries to recognize the State of Palestine. And this recognition is certainly not symbolic. It is a practical, tangible, irreversible step that countries must take if they are invested in preserving the two-state solution.
Can it be all that with Hamas still there in any capacity? Will Hamas just re-roll themselves as somebody else, but still be the same beast?
This also sends a very clear message of hope to the Palestinian people who are facing an existential threat. Israel always claims that we are under an existential threat. Today, it is the Palestinians who are under this existential threat, and we need to raise our voices on this threat. So recognizing our right to life and existence sends a clear message that war, bloodshed, settlement expansion, and annexation will not be tolerated, not by Palestinians, not by the world.
Well, hopefully that will continue on both sides. Nobody will tolerate it, and, they'll be able to get on together. Now, I don't know where this is going to finish. It's not over yet, without a doubt, okay? Let me know what you think, please. I'm sitting on the fence with all of this stuff here, as a non-political. I don't have the answers. All we can do is present the facts and give it to you in some sort of logical way where you can try to formulate your own opinions, which is hopefully what we're going to try and do. Okay, we've just seen what the press are saying. So here's our summary. First, the basics. Recognition doesn't redraw borders overnight or change checkpoints on the ground. But diplomatically, it's huge. The UK just moved Palestine from a disputed entity to a recognised state in its foreign policy. That means Palestine can claim more legitimacy in international forums, and Israel faces fresh pressure over settlements and negotiations. The teaching point: a state in international law has 4 criteria: territory, people, government, and the capacity to deal with others. That's geopolitical. It's not about whether your coastline is secure or your maps are clean. That's geophysical. By recognising Palestine, Britain is saying those 4 boxes are ticked, at least politically. The reactions: Israel condemned it. Prime Minister Netanyahu called it absurd and accused London of rewarding terrorism. Palestinian leaders welcomed it, with Hamas framing it as a diplomatic win, even though the UK explicitly said Hamas cannot govern the future state. The US reaction was cautious. Washington didn't follow London's lead, but it didn't openly break ranks either. Why now? The Labour government under Keir Starmer had been under pressure from MPs and campaigners to deliver on manifesto promises. The ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza and continued settlement expansion in the West Bank made recognition both a moral and political decision. By joining Canada and Australia, the UK signalled this wasn't a solo move. It was part of a consolidated shift. The risks: recognition could sour ties with Israel, and critics will argue it rewards extremists. But supporters say without recognition, a 2-state solution becomes impossible because one side isn't acknowledged at the table. Recognition is a diplomatic tool, not a peace treaty. It puts pressure on both sides to step up, but it doesn't solve the conflict overnight. The takeaway: let's get the facts straight. Britain's recognition of Palestine is symbolic, but symbols matter in geopolitics. It signals that ignoring Palestine as a state is no longer an option. Whether this drives peace or sparks more division depends on what happens next, on the ground and in negotiation rooms. Drop your comments below. Please let me know what you think on this one, because I really want to hear, okay? And by the way, if you subscribe to our channel and want to hear the conversations we can't discuss openly, then join our membership for just 16 pence a day on Force TV Plus. Until next time, get your head round that lot.